I don't think I have the most original take when I'm saying that Hollow Knight might be one of the most special games I've ever had the pleasure to experience for myself. Literally the living proof that indie games reign supreme over most titles released by billion-dollar companies. Think about it, only 3 people managed to create what has now become one of the most beloved games to have ever been released, and also had the audacity to price it at $15. Bro, a meal at McDonald's is more expensive than that nowadays. In a perfect world, this type of behavior would be industry standard, but we have strayed so much down the wrong path, maximizing profit at every possible moment, that Hollow Knight turned into a beacon of hope, proving that a deep sense of passion can lead to enormous success. Not relevant to the video whatsoever, but let me also give an honorable shout out to Concerned Ape, who basically did the same thing by himself the previous year. I apologize for derailing the trajectory of this video. I have a constant urge to condemn capitalism and also direct people to play more indie games, so that AAA developers get inspired by the success of these smaller titles and create games with big budgets that actually match them in quality. That being said, please play Lies of P, and Blasphemous, and Outer Wilds, and Inscription, and also Hollow Knight. I know there are still some of you out there that still have Hollow Knight in your backlog, forever postponing that opportunity. I know this because I've been that person. If it weren't for a particular pandemic that forced everyone into lockdown, I might still be oblivious to the greatness that is Hollow Knight and might have completely missed the hype surrounding Silksong. Like a lot of y'all, I've been wearing that clown costume for a while, and I never imagined that the day when I finally put it down will ever come. That's where my head was at a few weeks back. And then, Team Cherry finally released the nuke, and since then, nothing was the same. Hello there, this is KIPH, selfishly interrupting your program. I prepared a special video for you today, and I hope that you enjoy it, but if you would allow me a few seconds to get personal for a moment, you might enjoy it even more. I apologize for the delay. My real name is Mihne, and if you're not Eastern European, that's a bitch to pronounce, I know. That's why I decided to go with KIPH, which is an abbreviation of my last name. It's easier to pronounce than Mihne, but it still maintains that annoying volcanic flavor and confuses people. These are the extreme lengths I'm willing to go in order to be marketable. I'm 25 years old, and I actually do reside in the Balkans, or specifically in Romania.
Sorry for being so Balkanic.
I'm a big nerd and I have a strong passion for almost any form of entertainment, but especially for video games. I love video games with all my heart because they represent a safe space for me and have helped me become a better and kinder person. And I have always wanted to make people feel safe as well. That's why I started this YouTube channel. Well, that's partially true. I always had a creative side that I wanted to explore because I have never felt safe expressing it because it didn't fit the norms of my environment. So I always felt discouraged about pursuing this path. The truth is, I had an attempt at starting a YouTube channel a long time ago, but after a couple of videos, I let the negative response get to me and let the word cringe define not only the content I was putting a lot of love and effort into, but my character as a whole as well. So I quit and deleted everything that I've ever uploaded because I didn't want to be cringe. Looking back, that might be one of the dumbest decisions I have ever decided to make, because I ended up becoming cringe anyway, but I wasted so many years being scared and concerned about what people thought of me and my dreams. This entire time, I have felt so unsafe to express myself and pursue any creative endeavors, slowly hiding myself from the world. I swear I'm not quoting inside, that's basically my life story. The truth is that I don't feel good, and I don't like that I don't feel good. But I don't know how to feel good. If you let your insecurities and fears feed off of them, those are some scary thoughts, but they're also a great foundation to build off of, because there is no place to go but up. That leads us to the beginning of last year, where I finally built up enough courage to start this YouTube journey. And although it has been really fun creating content and, more importantly, interacting with you guys in the comments, I've also been struggling throughout this entire process because I truly find it overwhelming at times. I have a hard time maintaining an equilibrium between content creation and my personal life, and that's when YouTube doesn't feel like a safe space anymore. So my protective instincts take over, nudging me into giving up so I can protect myself from all of these negative feelings. And I almost did, yet again. But but knowing how overpowering these dark thoughts can be and empathizing with other people that might relate to this exhaustion, I keep coming back to utilize my small platform as a safe space for anyone in need of one. And in the process of growing said platform in order to make more people feel safe and cozy, I overwhelm myself even more as balancing stuff becomes harder and harder, to the point where I stop feeling joy when creating content. And it's a scary thought to lose your passion. Luckily for me, one hand washes the other, and my passion for video games saved my passion for content creation, as Knight Silksong showed me that although it is hard to concentrate upon it, there is indeed beauty in the struggle. I've been telling you all of this personal stuff because I wanted to give you the sense of comfortability that Silksong gave me and let you know that there is a notion of hope and wonder beyond the grueling difficulty of your situation. Just trust the process and let yourself flow through the motions. You will find the right direction. You will overcome the obstacle. You will achieve your goals. Without further ado, let me tell you how Knight Silksong made me find peace within my struggle. And if you can relate to this, feel free to consider this channel as a safe space for you to share your thoughts and feelings. I appreciate you for giving me your time of day. I want you to take a look at this map. Take in its imposing scale and complexity. Observe the diversity of these interconnected areas. See how the world sprawls downward into an ocean of wonder? Now take a look all the way up here. This is you. A tiny, insignificant insect faced with an overwhelming world in which you will get lost and cornered by the scariest and most imposing threats you could think of.
There is only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom.
Your task is to kill God.
What, am I gonna fight the sun?
If everything sounded like I was talking about the Soul series, you would be correct. Hollow Knight takes a lot of inspiration from Dark Souls in many aspects of gameplay. However, the atmosphere is what makes it so special. It perfectly captures the feeling of dread caused by the realization of your puny stature compared to the other inhabitants of the realm. In Dark Souls, you are a mere undead, facing off with dragons and demons and demigods. In Hollow Knight, you are a bug fighting other big bugs, and also the sun. The feeling that you get at the start of the game of being underprepared for this big adventure that's in front of you is only rivaled by the feeling you get when you arrive at the end and witness all the progress that you made. You're thrown into a dense and confusing world with no sense of direction. But as you explore more of it, you see yourself becoming stronger and stronger, defeating more powerful enemies with each encounter, and by the end, after climbing the mountain and descending into the abyss, you get to reap the benefits of overcoming yourself. You defeated the frustration of getting lost by wandering into every direction. You beat the hopelessness of defeat by getting up and giving the boss another attempt, and most importantly, you reign over the urge of giving up by stating the course and believing in yourself. Yeah, the Radiance and Pure Vessel are tough challenges, but your biggest adversaries were those dark thoughts that were trying to consume you. In the end, you became a better version of yourself, but don't worry because the journey is not over. Matter of fact, the journey never ends. There is always room for improvement when it comes to mastering yourself. That brings us to Silksong. After learning and perfecting all of the mechanics which Hollow Knight throws at you, you feel more prepared to go on this brand new adventure and pick exactly where you left off. But actually, that's not exactly how it goes. Silksong takes a different approach when it comes to sequels. Instead of building off of your power level to make all of the effort that you put in feel warranted, Silksong makes a complete mockery out of your skill level as it bullies you into thinking that you were never the competent warrior that you thought you were. You are robbed out of every tool you previously acquired, forced to learn everything all over again. Your sense of direction gets distorted further as the world is grander and even more disorienting than before. The difficulty gap when it comes to bosses has gotten much wider as every moveset has become 100 times more complex. Everything does double damage now. A basic gauntlet is harder than the Colosseum. A random boss fight is harder than absolute radiance. A basic platforming section is harder than the Path of Pain. Silksong takes every major achievement from the previous game and takes a dump on all of them, as it increases the difficulty to such a dramatic level that it controversially becomes the center focus and main conversation surrounding the game. If the Hollow Knight cliffs were the tutorial for Hollow Knight, well, Hollow Knight is the tutorial for Silksong. You even play as a character that might have previously been a roadblock for you, tricking you into thinking that you're going to be far more powerful this time around. And then the game pulls the rug under your feet. I beat the Absolute Radiance, yet I died to the first boss in Silksong, but I told myself that it's fine, this is normal. I beat Dark Eater Midir in Dark Souls 3, and yet I died to the Tree Sentinel in Elden Ring many times. You just have to explore and get used to the rhythm of the game again. Well, that's not necessarily the case with Silksong, and the game conveys you this information through this brilliant yet subtle environmental storytelling. You arrive in Bone Bottom and get the sense of familiarity reminiscing of Dirtmouth. You're wandering around, exploring your surroundings, and then you fall. And the best thing is, you have to get back up the same way you did in the first place. No fast travel. Yeah, that's right, Hollow Knight Silksong is basically getting over it. And I'm not exactly exaggerating. This subtle moment reflects upon the fact that, like getting over it, Silksong is a game about letting go and moving forward. You have to let go of the frustration about doing everything all over again, and you have to keep yourself pushing forward as there is no other way to go. That's how Silksong teaches the player to look for beauty in the process instead of the destination. If Hollow Knight delved deeper into the underground, unveiling a hidden world resembling the downward spiral of the titular character of the game, the Hollow Knight, Silksong takes the opposite approach as you start from the bottom and your goal is to climb all the way up to the top, reflecting the state of mind of the player. If this environmental detail didn't put into perspective that you have to let go of the ego built up in the previous game, maybe the Farfields will, with its agitating enemies moving all over the place. And if that wasn't enough, this area makes even the most basic platforming sections challenging, as the game robs you of your familiar pogo jump, as Hornet's starting moveset makes her pogo go down in the diagonal direction, making every jump tricky to land. We're not in Kansas anymore. I might act like an English teacher and look too deep into it, but I think this is yet again a perfect subtle way to ground the player within the new boundaries of difficulty and also set up the theme of the story. That being said, if the Farfields still don't limit your expectations regarding your power level, this bastard definitely will. While I'm writing this script, it's been barely a month since the game came out, and the Savage Beastfly has already been memed to death due to his status as the game's first massive roadblock.
This is symbolism, foreshadowing, if you will, about you banging your head against the wall at the boss fight.
I'm talking about sporadic movement, endlessly spawning minions, and the notorious double damage. The Savage Beastfly might be harder than 90% of Hollow Knight's bosses, and he's comfortably placed as one of Silksong's introductory bosses. But that's not because the difficulty is unbalanced or you're bad at the game, you're just looking into the wrong direction. I wish Anthony Bourdain was still here, and if he was, I would ask him to help me out with this next explanation the same way he did in The Big Short. But because that's not possible, I will be taking over with the culinary metaphors and innuendos. Picture Hollow Knight as a potato, and yourself as a novice cook. Your task is to cut this potato in order to make a stew. You're given the necessary instructions to make the process easier, but because you lack the expertise, you end up messing up a few potatoes, which is perfectly fine. After a couple of failed attempts, you start getting more comfortable with the knife and the different shapes of the potatoes, so you end up getting better and your chopping more precise. So, after a few successful attempts, you finally chop up your last potato to perfectly shaped cubes, and then you add it to the stew. Congratulations, your patience and dedication led you to master the skill of cutting potatoes. But don't worry, the stew is not done. It's actually way more complex than a bunch of potatoes.
Potatoes.
Now, your next task is to chop up an onion. So you apply all of the knowledge you gain from cutting up the potatoes and you turn the onion into cubes, therefore ruining the stew. So you have to start all over again. It's frustrating to see yourself progress and finally overcome an obstacle, only to be immediately forced to start from the beginning because all of that progress turned out to be meaningless when you're faced with a different hurdle. That's how I use a cooking metaphor to perfectly describe Silksong and also life itself. We have all faced difficult situations in our lifetimes, and somehow we manage to go past them and encounter an even harder obstacle every single time. The frustration of feeling that this cycle is never ending piles up and is constantly fueled by the fact that every problem requires you to focus on different things. All of the information that you have accumulated trying to pass the hard exam won't help you balance a rocky relationship, and all of the rebuilding that you did after a breakup won't hold together when a loved one passes away. Just like PTA's new movie, there's constantly one battle after another. If the Savage Beastfly didn't break you, the final boss in the first act of Silksong, the last judge, definitely will. She literally starts the fight by killing off 2 innocent pilgrims, so you know she means business, as she proceeds to beat the living crap out of you, forcing you into one of the longest and most annoying runbacks in the entire game. It's by far the hardest challenge you have faced so far, but instead of getting you hyped and locked in, the game discourages you with every failed attempt by derailing your focus and wasting your time with the runback. You might call this bad game design, and I would actually agree with you most of the time, as I consider runbacks to be a pointless addition to most video games. However, I believe this moment is important for the player to grasp the beauty that makes games like Hollow Knight or Elden Ring feel special, because hidden deep inside desperation lies the beauty of struggle, and that's change. Remember the cooking metaphor? Transitioning from cutting a potato to cutting an onion doesn't revolve around your knife skill, it revolves around the technique. The knife stays the same and your ability to cut also stays the same. The onion didn't make you forget how to cut, that's muscle memory. It's built into you. You only have to change your approach. When Silksong's first act makes you doubt your capabilities as a gamer who finished Hollow Knight, you have to understand that you're just approaching Silksong like Hollow Knight, instead of approaching Silksong like Silksong. In Dark Souls, your first boss fight outside of the tutorial are the Bell Gargoyles, and there's no way around them for you to advance, so you have to face them head on. Souls veterans will automatically gravitate towards this approach when playing Elden Ring, facing off with the Tree Sentinel or Margit, not realizing that Elden Ring is not Dark Souls, but an open world meant to be explored in order to make difficult fights much more manageable. It's easy to get fooled when a sequel that looks and plays almost exactly like the previous title turns out to be completely different at its core. The difficulty of Silksong doesn't come from a skill issue, but from the illusion that it's more Hollow Knight, when in reality it is something much more complex. Silksong has an extensive catalog of tools which you can mix and match in order to create a completely new dynamic of the gameplay loop, offering the player limitless strategies and approaches when it comes to difficult situations. The game also gives you an assortment of crests who drastically change Hornet's moveset, incentivizing the player to experiment and diversify based on the current circumstances. Hell, one of the crests literally brings back the moveset from Hollow Knight if you truly want that feeling of comfortability back. Silksong is not about brute force and pattern recognition like Hollow Knight. This game is about problem solving and immense creativity, as one boss might be an incentive to give up when confronted with a particular build, but a complete joke when up against another one. You are not supposed to get annoyed with the last judge's runback because you're not supposed to experience it that many times. You're supposed to go back and explore the rest of the map because you probably missed the tool or the crest that will turn the boss fight into a cakewalk. And guess what? Exploration is that muscle memory I was referring to earlier. Exploration is the one thing that you will bring from Hollow Knight, and it represents the bridge between these two worlds, as you will use it to adapt to the rules of this new environment. You have to use the knowledge you have accumulated whilst changing your technique. At the end of the day, change was the differentiating factor. Act 1 of Hollow Knight Silksong has to be one of the most grueling moments of introspection and self-realization that a video game will put you through, as your ego will be put to the test and your capabilities questioned, facing roadblock after roadblock until you eventually reach your limit. That being said, this YouTube journey has also felt like the equivalent of Silksong's first act for me. If you're uncomfortable with me sharing so much personal information, I completely understand, and please feel free to leave. There's no shame in that. Thank you for your time. I started creating content, wanting to nourish my creative parts of my brain and fulfill a childhood dream of mine, sharing my passion with other like-minded individuals, creating a safe space in the process. I instantly fell in love with the whole thing, from writing the script to editing the video, as I let my creativity roam free. Despite all of this, the best part has actually been interacting with all of you, fam, because I love discussing topics that are near and dear to my heart and see different perspectives regarding them. When a video does good, I become motivated to keep going in order to get more people together, and since I started, the steady growth of the channel has been pushing me forward. Reaching 200 subscribers and 8,000 views on my The Last of Us video felt like beating the pantheon of hollowness in Hollow Knight. I know it's technically not that impressive from a general point of view, but for me, it felt like conquering the world, because it's hard to picture more than 200 people giving a crap about what I have to say. Just like Hollow Knight, YouTube made me feel like I was constantly improving, and when I felt like I've reached my peak, that's when I fell all the way down. I was putting endless hours into creating my content, but every upload was doing worse than the previous one. I was coming down from a record high viewership count to a staggering streak of record lows, and with every video, my self-esteem and mental stability started to degrade. Silksong made me think that I was never good at Hollow Knight in the first place, and YouTube was making me feel like my videos were always trash, in spite of the appreciation and support from many beautiful people. I felt discouraged and wanted to quit. This was my IRL last judge moment. I hated the runback of creating a video that gets no recognition from the algorithm, so I took a break. Started playing games for myself again instead of recording them for content. I was reconnecting with my passion that led me to content creation in the first place. It was during this break when Team Cherry decided to spontaneously announce and release Silksong in the span of 2 weeks after 6 years of making us wait. These beautiful bastards literally crashed Steam and made me wait another 3 hours until the servers got up again. But did they deliver another life-changing title that will change my perspective on life and my sense of appreciation regarding the small things? Yes, they did. Silksong is nothing but a masterpiece that stands tall as one of gaming's biggest achievements, but it took me a while until I reached that conclusion. I was in a dark place, and Silksong's first act didn't exactly boost up my confidence, but after going through the motions of the struggle, finally beating up the last judge, I changed, and then everything opened up. Just like life, Hollow Knight Silksong is about overcoming difficult challenges in order to widen your perspective and seeing the world in a different view. The beauty within the struggle is the experience itself, the human condition of feeling endless frustration and desperation for it to turn into wonder and serenity. That's what you feel when you enter the Choral Chambers for the first time and hear that majestic soundtrack. You couldn't have cherished this moment of bliss without going through all of that struggle, therefore you gain a new sense of appreciation for the struggle itself, as its purpose becomes much more clearer. What is the meaning of life? Some people would say love, some people would say happiness. I now think that the purpose of it all is the experience itself, the privilege to suffer for it to turn into joy, the privilege of losing something that once brought you comfort. It might seem contradictory and maybe tone deaf to some people, but there is definitely beauty in pain. With each mistake, you get to analyze the situation with a wider perspective, seeing the bigger picture to figure out the best possible solution, and with each victory, your horizon just gets further as a world of opportunities unveils in front of you. I'm still talking about Silksong, Silksong, by the way. When you accept the struggle as part of the process and you embrace it in order to change and become a better version of yourself, there is nothing stopping you to explore the vast world that you unlocked. Multiple new areas start piling up in front of you, containing even more secrets and tools that will help you along the way. A multitude of friendly faces begin to show up at every corner, ready to make your struggle much more easier to handle and your experience much more enjoyable. On the other hand, harder challenges await you, and when I say harder, I mean terrible, disgusting, tedious, and unfun challenges. Man, fuck Bilewater. This is a perfect example that life does contain some annoyances that have no benefit whatsoever, but guess what? They don't change the beauty of your world. They're just an inevitability thrown to the side, but you'll get over it too. That's because the more you're struggling, the more you have to push yourself to keep moving forward. Think about the Choral Chambers. Think about Orlando. Think about all of the peaceful moments that you had after getting over something difficult. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to embrace the tunnel for leading you there, but don't dwell in the darkness and keep moving forward. That's what life has taught me. That's what video games have taught me. And Silksong is the latest example. It made me feel less ashamed of my failures and find more joy in the process itself. I could have made this video an analysis of the game itself and talk about things like the new and improved movement and combat, or the lesser aspects such as the disappointing final boss, but I wanted to take the direction of this video into something more personal, because that's how the game made me enact change within myself. I want to create a safe space for the people who watch me, and to do that, I have to build up a sense of trust with my audience. And what a better way to do that other than spilling my guts out in front of strangers on the internet. That's how you get to know the real me and decide for yourself if my content is worth watching when there's a lot of talented creators out there. I only hope to brighten up your day if you let me. Until you finally do, I will keep coming back to try to make you like and subscribe, and I won't stop until you've hit your breaking point. Nah, I'm just kidding. I probably won't stop either way. If somehow you're still watching this video, thank you. Your presence has been priceless. Take care.